Nice. Yeah. One hand off. Back's nice and full. Good. What is up? It is 12 o'clock on Sunday. It's show day. I think the show's just kicked off for the amateurs. We're going to head down a little bit because Anthony's going to be on a bit, and Classic Physique will be on in, I reckon, about an hour and a half. They always normally run a little bit late, so expect it, because it ran late last year as well, and it ran late in March, so there's probably an hour or so, give or take, for each class. But yeah, everything is moving smoothly. Hayday's chilling. Doesn't really need much food yesterday because we ate pretty hard yesterday and last night, so letting his GI clear, posing across the day. We've got a litre of water to play with, which he'll just sip on, and he normally does rice cakes, like chocolate covered rice cakes, before stage, about an hour and a half before, so we've got them. But if we do start to see him flatten off where he needs a little bit, then we'll just put a few rice cakes in, a bit of nut butter, and maybe a little bit of whey iso into a little paste in the next couple of hours, because we're probably going to have another 5 hours to stage, potentially 4.5, 5 hours. When's your turn? In like an hour? 12 o'clock? 1 o'clock?
Between 12 and 2, I think they said.
Okay, so we'll leave in like 45
But
minutes.
I heard someone yesterday in the men's physique division saying, on his story, saying Tan's at 2.
2 o'clock.
Because the guy was a bit weird. He was like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. And I was like, what time? He was like, 12, 2, 2. So maybe best to just get there.
Yeah, we'll leave it a bit.
12-ish.
So yeah, men's physique's on first, which I think is like 4-ish, 4:30. Then Oscar and Murat are going to be on Classic after, and I'm pretty sure it's a run through, so they'll do pre-judge for both classes, and then they'll do final, like confirmations and finals and awards for both classes. So there's no, because it's an evening show, there's no like pre-judge and night show, which is easy. So yeah, all is good. It's colder than we thought in Africa. Hannah has cut her hand open, and we tried to find a pharmacy earlier, but there was no pharmacies open, so Hannah just now has an open wound on her hand, which is not ideal, but in the life of Hannah, nothing's simple, and she likes to keep us on our toes, so yeah, we'll check in with you at the venue. Good afternoon. Just got here. I think Ada's on in like 2.5 hours, and I think Anthony's just been on his winners class. He was on the right in the overall. Didn't get the overall ticket. There were actually 2 cars at the show as well, but that's the first class when we've been hunting for a long time this year, because he's done 5 shows and I think he's come second 4 times. So I'm happy with it. 16. 16. That's sick. Thanks, man. How many seconds have we got this year?
We've got 5 seconds.
5 seconds this year across the world. So this is his first big win of the year, which is very, very good. So very good luck. We changed the approach a little bit this week, but it's paid off in our favour. Top 8, definitely one of the second.
Got to be close to being in that fight.
You were on the edge of it, centre hand.
I felt like there's a couple of guys that I think the guy that next to me got in here. I think that should have beat him. Yeah.
We got some really good content around it.
How was that?
It's really good.
Yeah? I was alright, perform alright.
Posing was better because you weren't afraid of it in that front shot. Not this, not the photo was when you went out.
Was it my posing? I mean, my
Hands good as well.
it was good, yeah.
We'll pump up harder back here. When he's backstage, we'll pump up a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah.
Face the front. Number 9.
Let's go, Murat! Let's go! Come on, Murat!
Number 2 and number 1 switch.
Yes, Murat! Yes, Murat! Yes, Murat, let's go!
Gentlemen, thank you, gentlemen. You can step to the side.
Thank you!
Great job.
Second place. We receive a check of $1,000 given by Golden Body. And please remember, 9 Murat Khan from Turkey.
da göreceksiniz. Hayırlısı olsun diyelim. Bizim yolumuz devam edecek.
Thanks, coach. Cheers, boys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Mà say year there then you man.
I spoke to in Saudi Arabia in January 14th, Saudi, first pro show of the year. Okay. January. Okay. A little bit of recovery now and then back in.
Yes,
okay.
very close.
So close. So close.
Thank you. Thank you. So close. Thank you. Good luck next time. Devam ediyoruz. Devam edeceğiz.
Yeah. So for them to move you into the middle on a pro debut when your name's not recognised, big. Because he's won already last week. Yeah. He won the show in Europa. So he's already seasoned. He's been placing in multiple shows. So his name is known. Yeah. They know as soon as he comes out on stage, they know to look at him because they know he's a winner. Yeah. So for you to be moved in and then come second there in the pro debut is good. Very good. Really good. I was just telling Helmut the poses. The front double bicep and the side chest you win. The rear double bicep he won just because of thickness in his back, which is something we know we need to work on anyway. Yeah. The absence thigh could go both ways, but I think for you the absence thigh you need to blow instead of vacuum and then hit your quads, and then the favourite Cossie pose you win. Yeah. So it's literally 2, 2 and 1. So it's balanced. It's very close. Very, very close.
We're live?
Yep.
Welcome back, guys. We are in. Fucking hell, Goose, a bit pissed off. We're in. We're back at home. We got back last night at some time. What happened then, Hayden?
So,
talk me through it.
The show?
Yeah. It was an interesting place. I've never been to a show quite chaotic in my life.
Yeah, literally. I've never seen anything like it. Backstage was manic, and that's no exaggeration of the word. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
There was no order whatsoever. There was no tanning booths. There was no fans to dry. There was no real kind of structure to tanning timings. The backstage kind of room where all the athletes were was like -5. It was absolutely freezing cold.
Yeah.
There was just a few kind of like mats on the floor for people to sit on. It was yeah, pretty don't even know what to say, what the word would be.
I think the peak of the day was when the men's toilets started leaking and like urine was flooding in from the toilets into the backstage area. That was probably
there was one toilet and like 4 shower cubicles, so everyone was just going to the toilet in the showers. So it was just literally mayhem. There was just yellow piss flooding out into the corridor from the entrance from the outside in. It was not a nice place to be, and I wouldn't say it ruined it, but I just wanted to get on stage really badly and really quickly because I was just sitting there freezing cold. I had Oscar beside me, fast asleep, snoring, and it was like everyone was really loud as well, so I just couldn't understand it, and I was just feeling really uncomfortable and wanted to get it done, but yeah, that part was not the best, but then it was like literally one extreme to the other from there, and then getting onto stage lighting was great. The kind of the background, you know, like the lighting background was really good. The seating area for the spectators looked good, and yeah, it just kind of went from shit to decent. But yeah, we got on stage. I feel like we probably did bring our very best. What do you think?
I think it was better than Denmark just because he had a longer time in the groove after that peak.
Yeah, and we had a later stage time as well, so we had more time to dry off.
Yeah,
and yeah, I can't complain with the package that I brought. The peak was great. I probably could have pumped up my back a little bit better, but then it was hard because just the kind of like equipment backstage in terms of bands and dumbbells was difficult. And yeah, space was hard as well. So
I think the only difference with the Tunisia show relative to Denmark was Denmark. I think the stage time was 2 o'clock, whereas Tunisia ended up being like 5:30. And I remember in Denmark, he was still pissing with a relatively decent amount of urine volume, like right up to stage. So we kind of realised that in Denmark we could have probably pulled that peak a couple of hours ahead in terms of just allowing more to flush out in the window of time pre-stage, and the delays that happened, you know, almost non-intentionally in Tunisia in stage kind of worked in our favour because it allowed him to just have a little bit more time drying out in the daytime. And we really did like absolutely nothing on the day. I think you did like 6 rice cakes, didn't you?
That's literally it. Yeah.
6 rice cakes.
No more food.
No food across the day apart from the 6 rice cakes, because we ate the day before and we ate the night before. Emptied out his GI. We did like 750 millilitres of water, I think, in the end. It wasn't the full litre, it was about 750, which is relatively low for that amount of time. We just held out sodium, because the sodium hit the night before was relatively aggressive with that sushi meal, which topped off that day. We just held out sodium across the day to allow that to deplete, which obviously dried them out really nicely across the day, and then reintroduced it pre-stage, which kind of finished off the job. Because there'll be like, sometimes when you've pulled sodium out for a long period of time, there'll always be like a 3, 4, 5% jump forwards once you reintroduce it again. So if you can get them to near perfect an hour or 2 hours before stage and have that tool of re-adding the sodium prior to them pumping up, all that kind of final sub-Q element will start to partition and set when they start pumping up when you reintroduce sodium, which is what happened. It's just the backstage area for pumping up in the first place wasn't ideal, but we did the job. I think next time what we'll probably do is just take bands and handles ourselves, and then just find somewhere outside and do it ourselves, because following the crowd backstage, it's like it was a really small space. Like we were trying to borrow somebody else's dumbbells and borrow somebody else's bands. It's not ideal, but yeah, it was a good look. It was a really good look. The feedback from the judge was positive as well. Talk through that.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I'm not really one for getting feedback, because if you're a bodybuilder, if you've ever competed before and you're quite experienced in the game, you'll know what I mean by this. It's usually very generic, and it's usually kind of things that you either can't improve on or you don't really agree with. It's always get a bit tighter, get a bit bigger, be a bit drier, pose a bit better. So you kind of know it's going to be one of those things. But
change your shorts.
Yeah, but this time it was a completely new judging panel, someone I'd never ever competed in front of. The head judge was called Serge, an American head judge, and there was an American lady on the panel as well. And I met them at registration. They seemed really, really nice, so really, really approachable. And I'm not saying that most judges aren't approachable, but there are a few that are not very approachable. So these kind of attracted me to ask for feedback, because I felt like the package I delivered was very, very good, very, very competitive. Looking at the top 5, top 6, I felt personally that I could have easily fitted in that mix without a doubt. And I think the general consensus was in agreement of that. So that was something that I wanted to know, why I didn't fit there, why I wasn't there, why I was literally just on the cusp of that. So
it's worth noting that. I think there was 7 in the first call out. He did quite a big first call out, and I was pretty adamant he was going to be there, because normally they call the call out in logical order, so they'll just go from like lower to higher, so it'll be like 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, but he just did it randomly. And there was a 7 call out, and some of the last few numbers was a little bit weird, because they called a number and then pulled them back online and then looked again and then called them again. So the last couple of people added to that first call out was probably very, very close in terms of who they were deciding to put in. And then when they called the second call out, Hayder was put in that second call out and moved to centre, so you could tell he was on the fringe of that first call, which is that kind of 6 to 8 range.
And I could tell when I was on stage as well, because I was eyes locked onto the head judge and the lady that were side by side, and they were looking at me a lot, talking to each other, looking at me a lot, talking to each other, and I knew that I was close. I could feel it, and I thought I was going to get in that first call out, so I was kind of disappointed with that, but it is what it is. Second ever pro show, and I feel like I'm finding my groove, and I feel like I know that the look that I need to deliver. I feel like I know where I belong, and I feel like I do belong. I feel like I can fight for these top spots now, and my goal was never this year to win a pro show, but I believe that now going into next year, that's something that I will be looking to do. And after speaking to the head judge, he was in agreement of that. He told me that he was very, very impressed with my physique. He said I was. His actual words were, "You're incredible, incredible from the front. Condition was amazing. Posing was very, very good. The only critique that he gave to me was that he wanted to see a little bit more in my back, a little bit more depth in the upper back, and which would then make me look a little bit harder and a little bit kind of tighter due to having more fullness in that upper back area."
It was the first time that somebody mentioned your tattoo, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he actually did say, because I had a large dark tattoo, that could have distracted a little bit away from my conditioning. So, I mean, I put it down to not getting a great pump in my backstage, because in Denmark my back was literally brimming full, and one of the best body parts that I had on stage, if I'm honest, in my opinion. So I'm not going to lose muscle in 6 days. So it's something that I feel like it's just an issue that I could have improved backstage. But now I've got some time to actually improve that muscle. I believe that when I do get on stage next year, and if I can get in front of the right panel, I'm going to be in the mix. He told me that I was right on the cusp of the first call out. He told me that he could see me on the Olympia stage, which was a huge boost for me and something that I wasn't expecting to hear. And he was very enthusiastic and very, very happy. And in my experience of speaking to judges, they don't blow smoke, because it doesn't give a competitor anything, and it doesn't give them anything. They don't get anything from that. And he was very complimentary, and so was the lady. So I left kind of disappointed that I didn't get in that first call out, but very, very optimistic and excited for the future, knowing that they see me where I see myself, because sometimes you need that confirmation to give you that confidence to move forward. Because in the past I've had judges tell me things that I just don't agree with, and then you're listening to your coach, you're listening to your friends, you're trying to bring that self-confidence out of yourself and work hard to still reach your goal, even though the judge that's judging you has told you something that goes against everything that you feel and that you've been told by everyone else. So now that I've had that confirmation, it gives me confidence to push, to grow, to improve, and to go again. Because it can be disheartening when you don't agree and you don't feel like you got a fair judging. So I am leaving positively from this show. We bought a great package. Although the experience backstage wasn't great, it ended up being an immense day, with Oscar getting in the top 6 and Murat getting second in his first ever pro show. Was incredible, beautiful physique, great conditioning, and a beautiful couple, him and his wife or girlfriend, whatever it is.
Wow,
so
the Turkish people are really nice.
And the Tunisian people, I have to add, are extremely accommodating, very, very friendly, so warm, and it really did enhance the experience of being in a foreign country and somewhere that's nothing like where we live or what we're used to. So that was a bonus as well. But overall, I'm really happy with my presentation. I'm really happy with the physique that I brought. I am a perfectionist, so I think I could improve my posing slightly and just relax a little bit more on stage. But I'd come off the back of Denmark where I was very disappointed, and I wanted to make a statement, and I probably did try a little bit too hard. Even though the judge said my posing was very good, looking back at pictures, I can see myself, I know myself, and I know that I could have just tweaked stuff a little bit and made things a little bit better. So it's all learning and a bit. I always say this, like everything that we do, we have to take as a lesson, and we have to move forward and learn from that lesson. And I definitely have learned some positive lessons from this experience, and I'm really, really happy with how things have went. The only thing that was missing was that top 6 placing, but I'm pretty sure that's going to come. So yeah.
Agreed.
Happy.
Yeah. Off season wise, it's literally a little bit more depth through his back, continuing to add a little bit more depth through his upper chest, because his lower chest is tonk. And then that's pretty much it. Don't need delts. Maybe need a little bit more arm based on what they said. A little bit more bicep and tricep from the judges this weekend that said. And again, if you look at like that top 3 or the clip with the 2 chaps either side of you,
third and
first, I think it was. Like they're big boys, like people that say, oh, you're too big for men's physique, or when you're in the NPC and it's like, oh, you're way too big for men's physique, you need to downsize. Once you get on a big men's physique pro stage, you'll realise
with
these guys,
top athletes, Olympians and people that are fighting for those top spots, they are big guys. I mean, Jordan Peters messaged me to that video, and he said the difference between those two guys next to you are big round chests.
Yeah,
that's what he said straight away.
Just
and
hangs off.
Jordan knows what he's looking at, and yeah, so try and bring the chest up a little bit, try and improve the back. We're not going for a long off season. We're going to approach this differently than we have ever before, than I have ever before. We're going to stay very lean, and we're just going to come out the gate with some improvements and try and get a good rebound, aren't we? Because I am pretty healthy, and I've been taking fake gear for the most of my prep. So that's one positive, that we brought such a good physique with taking some dodgy gear. So that's good. Yeah. I literally had 12 days on real tren. Yeah. So yeah. We know that we can improve. We know that there's room to be better in a short space of time, which is nice. So
yeah, and it'll be the first time that we've run a post-show phase where he's actually had a higher level of androgen input above HRT or above TRT than what we've done in the past. The last prep when he turned pro, because it was such a long prep, we pulled right down, and I think that probably did contribute to body composition foiling quicker than it needed to. Whereas now we can keep that a little bit higher and grow from the offset. You know, there's when you say growing, it's not going to be like aggressive. You know, you're not going to be aggressively chasing that like you would peak off season, but the body's in a really responsive state given the dose, like just lowering training volume, gradually working that back up, gradually working food up, keeping the androgen load sufficient. But it'll be the first time that he's exposed himself to that, so I think the improvements there will be very, very significant in a short space of time, and then we can get him back on stage sooner rather than later, because I just don't feel as though for Hayder psychologically the longer off-season phase works in his favour, just because I think once you get to 6 or 7 months in, things just start to stagnate, and that's where things just deteriorate, and not in a good way. Whereas that short sharp improvement phase of just being really targeted about specifically where you're trying to improve, getting off the gate post show and just getting to work and being focused there and not having that lull is important for him. So that'll be exciting to see, and he'll be back on stage next year. Shout out to Anthony for winning his first class of the year.
Well done, Anthony.
6 shows, 1/3, 5 seconds, and this weekend he won a class of 16 and narrowly missed out on the overall. Seeing the two lads who won the overall, he probably should have been pro this weekend, but I'm not a judge, so
that didn't make sense.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, he looked incredible, and yeah, that was really cool to see. We didn't get any direct footage because we got there a little bit later, because Hannah ended up trying to chop her hand off that morning, so we had to try and find a pharmacy in that morning. I'll try and get some clips from Anthony backstage, because he sent some on my phone, and I'll put that in the video just to show you what that look was like. And yeah, he won a class of 16, so really happy with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Tunisia is a wrap. The next video will be Olympia prep series, because we're going to do a couple out there. So we fly there on the December 10th, come back on the 20th, so we've got 10 days there for Darren and Valentin. Obviously Rob sadly can't make it because of the injury. It was confirmed via MRI he has actually torn his glute, so he's got an operation next Thursday to remove a little bit of tissue from his glute and just clean up and repair any of that scar tissue that is there, and that should be a recovery time in a couple of months, hopefully getting back on stage at some point next year to try and re-qualify for the 2023 Olympia, which I'm confident we'll do. So yeah, thanks for watching. On behalf of me and Hayder, peace.
Thank you guys.
Cool.